Hi, I'm
Hi, Timothy.
Hi, I'm Bob.
Hi, I'm Paul. Go to kick
Okay,
Okay, three first.
and show off my picture.
okay,
The one that I sent you.
okay. Dang it, my phone's being a butt cheek.
But cheek wonder.
DNA Productions. The fridge am I
You got it?
What am I looking at?
It's me, Paul.
Hi, Paul.
Alex, did you see it?
No,
He's
you said.
Timothy. He's Timothy. He's
Hold
not.
on, I have five
Who is
chat.
this
Hold on.
Alex? That's Timothy.
All right, Timothy.
Okay,
Hold
let's.
See it?
on, I need to see this picture real quick.
Oh my gosh, I could just see Timothy just dying.
All right, Pro Trolls, gamers.
What is up, pros and gamers?
I can't play his intro. What is up, Pro Trolls, noobs, and gamers?
Most news and gamers this person.
This is LeBron James. No, I'm just kidding. I'm Paul.
I'm here with
This is
I'm here with
Jack.
Paul, Timothy, and I'm Bob. We came up with these code names because we all sound similar, except Timothy.
Hi, I'm Paul.
And I'm Tim. And I'm Bob.
No, I'm Paul.
No, I'm Bob.
Yeah, I'm
All
Jack.
right, Pro Trolls,
Let's
noobs, and
just
gamers.
let's
We're gonna
just
start with Abandoned by Disney.
Okay.
All right, you guys open it while I start reading.
Yeah.
Some of you may have heard that the Disney Corporation is responsible for at least one real live ghost town. Disney built the Treasure Island Resort in Baker's Bay in the Bahamas. It didn't start as a ghost town. Disney's cruise ships would actually stop at the resort and leave tourists there to relax in luxury. This is a fact. Look it up. Disney blew $3 million on the
million,
plane.
30 million.
Yes. Yeah, 30 million. Fuck. 30, yes, 30 million. Shut the fuck up, Timothy.
Sorry, but I
Yes.
can't say real quick. This is serious.
What?
Yes,
This
man.
is an emergency.
Okay. What?
He said, Ryan, this is a fact. Look it up.
Yeah, this is a
we're
fact.
Not doing that. We're not doing
Look it
that.
up.
We're not doing that.
I'm gonna do it whenever that pops up.
Okay.
All right, ready? Disney blew $30 million on the plane. Yes, $30 million. Then they abandoned it.
Why?
Stupid. Disney blamed the shallow waters, too shallow for their ships to safely operate. And there was even blame cast on the workers, saying that they were from the Bahamas, they were too lazy on their regular schedule. That's where the factual nature of their story ends. It wasn't because of sand, and it obviously wasn't because foreigners are lazy.
Foreigners.
Both are.
Foreigners.
What the fuck? No, screw you. I messed up. My bad. I'm Paul. Both are convenient excuses. Go on, children. Go on.
No.
Okay, I'll go.
No, I sincerely
Because
doubt.
of Mowgli's Palace, near the beachside city of Emerald Isle in North Carolina, Disney began construction of Mowgli's Place in the late 1990s.
Palace.
Shut the fuck up. The concept was a jungle-themed resort with a large, you guessed it, palace.
Palace.
Shut the fuck up.
Shut
In
up,
the center
Timothy.
of the whole thing. If you're familiar with the character Mowgli, then you better remember the story. The Jungle Book.
The
It's
frick
not a
is
story, it's a
that?
book, you dumbass.
I didn't.
If you haven't seen it anywhere else, you'd know it as a Disney cartoon from decades past.
The frick is Disney.
Oh,
Oh, Mowgli is an abandoned child. Mowgli is an abandoned child in the jungle, essentially raised by animals and simultaneously threatened and pursued by other animals.
Wade.
Mowgli's palace was a controversial undertaking from the start. Disney bought up a ton of high-priced land for the project. There is actually a scandal surrounding some of the purchases. The local government claimed eminent domain on the people's homes. then turned around and sold the properties to Disney. At one point, a home that had just been constructed was immediately condemned with little to no explanation. The land grabbed by the government was supposedly for some fictional highway project.
Spread them legs
No,
open
wait,
far and
for real.
wide. Fuck that shit. Just let me see my dick inside. So, wait, why just stop?
Knowing full well that what was going on, people started calling it Mickey Mouse Highway.
The Thunder Ridge and the
Okay, Timothy Reed.
Oh,
Timothy
yeah.
Reed. Timothy Reed.
The Jesus of
Okay.
Suburbia.
So, without Mickey Mouse Highway, right?
Yeah, like, yeah.
Okay. Then there was the concept art, a group of stuffed shirts, sorry, from Disney Incorporated. Actually held a city meeting. They intended to sell everyone on how word this project was going to be for everyone. When they showed the concept art, this gigantic Indian palace surrounded by jungle, staffed with men and women in loincloths and tribal gear. Well, suffice to say, everyone flipped their word.
You could swear. You're allowed to.
I don't want to, okay?
Okay, who do you want to read?
Not me. Oh, yeah.
Reading.
Yeah, Glitch Man. Guess
Okay.
what?
What?
Timothy, he got in trouble today for writing on the test. During Thursday, I was dead. I was
You got laugh, though.
You have to sound like Shaggy when you do it.
like,
Okay, so my
Okay,
reading.
but continuing on with the creepypasta, we're talking about a large Indian palace jungle and one
Indian jig.
area, area, but also a somewhat
Xenophobic.
Xenophobic is stupid. Man.
hold on. Xenophobic area of the southern USA. At that point in history.
Yeah, it's a bag in America.
I'm not from the redneck agenda. We do the propaganda, but
Let's go on. Let's go on, children. Let's go on.
let's go on. One member of the crowd tried to storm the stage, but he was quickly subdued by security after he managed to break one of the presentation boards over his knee. Disney took that community and essentially broke it over its knee as well. The houses were razed, the land was cleared, and there wasn't
There wasn't a damn thing anyone could do.
like the Hoover Dam. There wasn't a Hoover Dam thing anyone could do or say about it. Local TV and newspapers were against the resort at the beginning, but some insane connection between Disney's media holding in the local venues into play, and their options turned on a dime. So let's have Paul read.
So anyway, Treasure Island, the Bahamas, Disney sunk those millions in and then split. The same thing happened with Mowgli's Palace. Construction was complete. Visitors actually stayed at the resort. The surrounding communities were flooded with traffic and the usual usual annoyances associated with an influx of lost and irate tourists. Then it all stopped. Disney shut it down and nobody knew what the hell to think. Hell, it's not a bad word.
Mm-hmm.
But they were pretty happy about it. Disney's loss was pretty hilarious and wonderful to a large group of folks who didn't want this in the first place. I really didn't give a shit about the palace. Since hearing it closed over a decade ago, I live maybe 4 hours from Emerald Isle. So really, I heard the rumblings and didn't experience any of it firsthand.
Then, I read this article from someone who had explored the treasure island and posted a whole blog about all this crazy stuff he found there.
Shit,
All this crazy stuff he found there.
shit,
Stuff just left
shit.
all this all the crazy shit he had found there. Stuff
There you go.
just left behind. Things smashed to face, probably ruined by the disgruntled former employees who had lost their jobs. Hell, the locals from all around probably had a hand in wrecking that place. People there felt just as angry about Treasure Island as folks here did about Mowgli's Palace.
Look, there was rumors that Disney had released their aquarium stock into the local waters when they closed, including sharks. Who wouldn't want to take a few swings at some merchandise after that? Well, what I'm getting at is this blog about Treasure Island got me thinking. Even though many years had passed since its closing, I figured it might be cool to do some urban exploration at Mowgli's Palace. Mowgli ugly, Mowgli ugly, ugly Mowgli. I don't know. Take some photos, write about my experience, and probably see if there was anything I could take home as a memento.
I'm not going.
I'm not gonna say I wasted no time in getting there because honestly it took me another year after I first found that Treasure Island article to get around to going up Emerald Isle.
Over the course of that,
Over the course of that year, I did a lot of research on the Palace Resort, or rather, I tried to.
oh my gosh, I just had to take off my shirt. It is so hot in here.
Should I read?
Yeah.
Okay. Naturally,
Actually, no official Disney site
You're
or
doing this on
resource
purpose.
made any mention of the place
for real, we
had
never
ever
organized
been
like we did.
claimed.
Just read this entire pasta. Okay, go.
Even otter, however,
No
was,
matter how I'm just kidding. Go
hold on, Paul, I'm gonna sue you.
Even odder, however, was that was that nobody before myself had apparently thought to blog about the place or even a photo. None of the local TV or newspaper
TV.
sites. None of the
Yes,
None of the local TV or newspaper sites had one word about this place, though. That was to be expected. They all had swung Disney's way. They wouldn't want to be out there lauding their embarrassment, you know. Recently, I learned that corporations can actually ask for Google, for example, remove links to search results. Basically, for no good reason. Looking back, it's probably not that nobody spoke of the resort, but it's rather their that words were made inaccessible. So in the end, I could barely find the place. All I had to go on was an old as hell map I received in the mail from back in the 90s. It was a promotional item sent. Why don't you go, Timothy? It was a promotional item sent out. Dang. It was a promotional item sent out to the people who had recently been to Disney World. And I guess since oh my gosh, no, don't do this. Timothy, read.
where?
There.
I wasn't paying
And I guess
attention.
I lost it.
it says, and I guess since I
And I guess since, and I guess since I had been there in the late '80s, that was, and I quote, recent. Hold on a second. You guys read for me.
Okay. I didn't really intend to hang onto it. I just
Me, bro.
shoved it in with all my books and
Yeah,
comics from my childhood.
I'll call you
I
later.
don't remember it for months into my research, and even then, it took me a few weeks to locate the storage bin my parents had shoved it all into. Okay, read.
But I did find it. Ah, damn it. Locals were no help as most were transplants who had moved to the beach in recent years, or old residents who just sneered at me and made rude gestures the second I managed to say, "Where would I find Mowgli's?" The drive took me through and rotten and screw that word long corridor of overgrowth. Tropical plants that had run rampant, overpopulated the area, mixed with the native species of flora that actually belonged there and had tried to reclaim the land. Go on.
What Bob has to go? Oh, I was in awe when I reached the front gates of the resort. Tremendous monolithical wooden gates whose supports to either side looked looked like they must have been cut with giant sequoias. The gate itself had been gouged in several places by woodpeckers and had eaten away at the base by burrowing insects. Hanging onto the gates was a sheet of metal, some random scrap, with hand painted letter.
Abandoned by Disney. Clearly, the hand-eye words of some past local or an employee who wanted to make some small protest. The gates were open enough to walk through, but not drive. So, grabbing my digital camera and the map, whose flip side showed a layout of the resort, I set on foot. The inner grounds of the place were just as overgrown as the entryway. Palm trees stood untended and ragged among piles from their own coconuts. Banana plants similarly stood in their own sinking, bug-riddled refuse. There was this sort of clash between order and chaos as carefully planted rows of perennial flowers. Hold up,
Mixed.
Alex is calling me.
Oh my gosh, did he leave? Perennial flowers mixed with obnoxious tall weeds and stinking blackened mushrooms. All that remain of any outdoor structure were broken rotting wood and various charred bits of unidentifiable material. What was most likely an information booth or an outdoor bar was now simply a pile of assorted debris, chopped up by past vandalism and ravaged by weather. The most interesting thing on the grounds was a statue of Baloo, a friendly bear from the
Balu.
Baloo, a friendly bear from the Jungle Book, which stood in a sort of courtyard in front of a main building. He was frozen in a jovial wave towards no one.
Hey, go to kick really fast,
Okay, but
Junior.
I hope you know I'm still recording.
You don't think you're still recording?
I am recording.
Just go. Either way. Let it record.
Okay.
And open the picture so that people can see it. That's
Oh,
Balu.
that's Baloo?
Yeah.
Oh.
I have a lot of pictures of him.
Oh, yeah, you're back. Nobody missed you.
Yeah, of course. Nobody missed you.
But
I have,
Yeah,
look, I have other pictures of Balu. This is Balu. I have others. Hold up. Because Balu is my baby.
Okay, can I continue reading?
Yeah, continue reading.
Okay. He was frozen in a sort of jovial way towards no one, staring at empty space with a silly, toothy grin as a bird's
121
as
comes
bird poop covered the whole swaths of the
into the
fur,
sky.
and the vines ensnared its platform. I approached the I approached the main building, the palace, only to find the outside of the building was covered in graffiti, with where the original paint hadn't peeled and chipped away. The front door weren't just open; they had been taken off their hinges and were stolen. Above the front doors, or the gaping maw where they should have been, where they had been, someone once again painted "Abandoned by Disney."
Actually, no, it's abandoned by Disney.
Yeah, you do it better.
Abandoned by Disney. I wish I could tell you about all the awesome stuff I saw inside. Forgotten statues, abandoned cash registers, full-fledged secret society of homeless bums.
All right, let Timothy read.
But no. Okay, Timothy Reed.
The inside of the building was so Tony Stark, so big that, that I actually think people had stolen the molding off the walls. Anything steel counters, desks, giant fake trees, they were all resting amid this empty Echo Charmander that my every step like a slow rat-a-tat.
Did you say Charmander?
Yeah, he did.
Yes,
Rat-a-tat is a Pokemon too.
on purpose. From a slow that one Pokemon of a machine gun. Rattata, that's what I meant to say. I checked the floor plan and headed to all the locations that might seem in any way interesting. The kitchen was, as you'd imagine, dragons, an industrial food prep area with all the appliances in space, no expenses spared. Every glass surface was broken, every door knocked off its hinges, every metal surface kicked and dented. The entire place was built like very old piss. The huge freezer, not even remotely cool now, had row upon row of empty shelf space. Captain Hook hung from the ceiling, probably for hanging cuts of meat, and I stood inside for a moment, I noticed they were swinging. Each hook swung in a random direction, but their movements were so slow and small that it was almost impossible to see. I figured it had been caused by my footsteps, so I stopped one from swinging by clutching it in my fist, then carefully letting go, but within seconds it started to swing once more. I'll read another one, and then, but actually, no, I'll read two more. The bathrooms were in much the same state as the rest of the place, just like the Treasure Island Resort. Someone had methodically smashed these porcelain commodes with coconuts on other implements. There was about a half-inch of rancid, stinking, stagnant water on the floor, so I didn't stay there very long. What's odd is that the toilets and the sinks bracket and the bathrooms in the ladies' room, yes, I went there, other bracket, all dripped leak or just ran freely. It seemed to me that they should have shut the water off very long ago. Okay, you guys can read.
Okay, Paul, read.
You read one more. I'm texting my friend that I want her to be my girlfriend.
No, you can't get her.
Oh, you're mean.
There were plenty of rooms in the resort, but naturally, I didn't have time to look through them all. A few I did peer into were similarly wrecked, and I didn't expect to find anything there. I thought there was actually a television or a radio in one room. I could really think I heard a quiet conversation coming out, though it was like a whisper, probably my own, breathing, echoing in the silence, or just another
case of the sound of flowing water playing tricks on the mind. This is what it sounded like. I didn't believe it. Short unknown reply. I didn't know that.
Okay.
I didn't know that. Your father told you. Unknown reply, or possibly just weeping. I know. That sounds ridiculous. Ridiculous. I'm just telling you what I experienced. Shut the fuck up. Why I thought there might been something running in that room, or worse, some vagrants who had holed up there and probably wouldn't knifed me.
Would have
Would have knifed me.
at the front door at the front door of the palace again. I figured I hadn't found anything of no, and had wasted the trip up. As I looked out the window, as I looked out the door, I noticed something interesting. The courtyard that I had apparently missed. Something that would have given me at least
One.
one thing to show all of my trouble, even if it was an empty photograph. There's a lifelike statue of a python, maybe 80 feet long, coiled up and sunning itself beside the pedestal, right in the center of the area. I almost, it almost, it was almost time for the sun to start setting, so the light fell onto the object in the perfect way for a photograph. I approached the python, snapped a photo, then I stood on my toes, snapped another. I moved closer again to get the details of its face. Slowly, casually, the python lifted its head. I looked up direct. Lifted. The python lifted its head. Wait, what? The fridge? Slowly, casually, the python lifted its head. It looked directly in my eyes and turned slither off in the pedestal, across the grass, into the trees, at 80, all 80 feet of it. Its head long disappeared into the woods. Before its tail even left the sunning spot, Disney had released all their exotic animals on the ground.
Is Timothy still here?
No, I think Timothy's gone. Timothy?
Timothy?
Give me your cash.
Hey,
Right
Timothy,
there,
Timothy. Money for days.
Oh, money for days.
Okay, I'm.
Oh, no.
The floor plan was a reptile house. I should have known. I'd read about the sharks in Treasure Island. I should have known they'd done this. I was dumbfounded, utterly stupefied. My mouth must have been hanging open for the longest time before I came back down to earth and snapped it shut. I blinked a few times, backed away from where the snake had been, back towards the palace. Even though it was totally gone, I wasn't taking any chances. I backed my way into the building, took a few deep breaths, and slapped to my own face, to get myself right in the head again. After that, I looked for a place to sit down. Paul, do you want to read?
No, not yet.
I looked for a place to sit down as my legs were feeling a bit like jelly at this point. Of course, there was no place to sit down unless I wanted to recline on the broken glass and dead leaf carpet or haul myself up onto a desk of questionably reliability. I had seen some of the stairs near the palace's lobby, and I decided to go have a seat there until I felt better. The staircase was from far away from far away from the front of the building, and to be relatively clean, save for all the startling accumulation of dust. I pulled a wedge of metal off the wall, once again painted with the "Abandoned by Disney" motto. I I'd become accustomed to. I'd placed the wedge on the stairs and sat onto it keep to keep at least somewhat clean. The stairway led downward, below a ground level. Using my camera flashlight as sort of improvised improvised flashlight, I could see the pair. I could see that the pair case.
Junior, shut the fuck up.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
I could see that the staircase ended in a metal mesh door with a padlock. A sign of a door of a real sign you must read. Mascots only. Thank
Mascots
you.
only. Thank you.
You gonna wake up your mother.
Okay. I want to read next.
Okay, read. I wanna list.
This Perca-Cola up my spirits a bit. Only for two reasons. One, a mascot only area would have definitely had something interesting stuff back in the day. Two, the padlock was still in place. Nobody had gone down here. Not the vandals, not the looters. No. This was
Nobody.
war, and
Nobody can drag me.
the photograph for
Hey, wasn't I seeing that yesterday?
Yeah.
On NES Godzilla?
Yeah. I haven't uploaded the video, so you kind of just spoiled it.
Well, you posted the first one, so yeah.
Okay, let's go.
I could actually explore and perhaps find something interesting to photograph or wanting me steal. I had come to the palace essentially agreeing with myself that it was okay to take anything I wanted because, hey, and I quote, abandoned. It didn't take much to bust the lock. Well, actually, that's wrong. It didn't take much to bust the metal plate on the wall that the padlock was hooked to. Time and decay had done most of the work for me, and I was able to bend the metal plate enough to pull the screws out of the wall. Something nobody else had apparently thought of or hadn't been able to do at the time. The mascot's only area was a startling and very welcome change from the rest of the building I'd seen. For one, every second or third fluorescent light overhead was illuminated, even though they flickered and faded randomly. Also, nothing had been stolen or broken, even if age and exposure were definitely taking their toll. Tablets and notepads and pens. Tables. Tables had notepads and pens. There were clocks, even a punch-in clock on the
I don't
wall.
use pads, I use tampons.
Wow. Like, complete was filled out time cards. Chairs were scattered around, and there was even a small break room with an old static-filled television and a long, rotted-out food and drink on the counters. It was like one of those post-apocalyptic
Pocahontas.
Pocahontas movies where everything is left in the state of evacuation. Okay, but it was like one of those post-apocalypse movies where everything is left in the state of evacuation. As I walked the maze-like sub-basement hallways of the mascots only area, the sights just became more and more interesting. As I went further, desks and tables were knocked over, paper scattered, and almost melted with the damp floor. And a large carpet of mold and slowly overtaking the real, rotting, crimson floor covering. Everything was just sort of squishy. That's a YouTuber, by the way. That was a pun. Everything
was just sort of squishy. Anything wood disintegrated
wood,
into
like wood, like a wooden door. Anything would disintegrate. Anything would disintegrate into mush. When I applied even the least amount of force, and clothing items hanging on hooks in one of the rooms simply fell to moist threads if I tried to unhook them.
One thing that annoyed me. One thing that annoyed me was that the light was becoming more sparse and unreliable as it went further into the dark, suffocating depth of the place. Eventually, I reached a black and yellow striped door with words "Character Prep 1" stenciled on it. The door wouldn't open at first. I figured this was just probably where the costumes they kept. Definitely, I wanted the photograph of that twisted, stinking mess. Whatever angle I tried, the door wouldn't budge. That is until I gave up and started walking away. That was when there was a slight pop-up, and the door creaked open. Inside, the room was completely dark, pitch black. I used the camera to flash to look for a light switch in the wall by the door, but there was nothing. As I made the search, I was jarred out of my sense of the excitement. A loud electrical buzz, row of lights overhead suddenly flashed into lights, flickering and fading in and out like the rest I had passed. It took a while. It took a second for my eyes to adjust, and it seemed like the light was just going to get like the light was gonna keep getting brighter until the bulbs exploded. But when I thought it would reach a critical stage, until all the bulbs, the lights dimmed. The lights dimmed a bit and steadied. The room was exactly as I pictured it. Various Disney costumes hung up on the walls, a full put together strange cartoon cavaliers hung up. There was an entire oh my gosh. There was an entire rack of loinclothes and native clothes on their
Wait,
hanger.
Daddy, are you almost done?
Can you read? Timothy Reed.
Okay.
I will read Mickey Mouse. Okay, read.
Who?
You.
I don't want to. Gabe Reed. I mean, Paul.
Paul.
We're
Paul.
We are at what I found odd. This is how I feel about reading. Like this is what I feel like in class. Like when we're reading something and like somebody's like, "Where are we?" and I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
I know, right?
Are we gonna read this? Gabe. I mean, Paul. Timothy Reed. Timothy Reed. Okay, I'll read then. What I found odd. What I found odd was, and what I wanted was a photograph right away. Was a
was a Mickey Mouse costume at the center of the room. Unlike the other costumes, it was lying on its back in the center of the floor like a murder victim. The fur on this costume was rotten and shedding, creating bare patches. What was even odder, however, was the coloring of the costume. It was like a photo negative of the actual Mickey Mouse. Black where he should be white, and white where he should be black. His normally overalls were light blue. The sight was off-putting enough that I actually put off to photograph the thing until last. I took a picture of the costumes hanging on the walls, upward angles, downward angles, side shots to show an entire row of frozen, putrid cartoon faces, some with plastic eyes missing. Then I decided to stage a shot, just one of the
Bedraggled, bedraggled.
Bedraggled, whatever character head on the slick, grippy door. I reached for my headpiece of a Donald Duck costume and carefully removed it so the thing wouldn't fall apart in my hands. As I looked in the face of the wide-eyed, moldering head,
Dibs on reading
a
Mickey.
laugh. You start reading.
Okay, I read.
Yeah.
Okay. As I looked into the face of the wide-eyed, moldering head, a loud clattering sound made me jump with fright. I looked down at my feet.
I looked on my feet and right between my shoes was a huge skull. Yeah, falling out of the mask, I had and shattered into pieces at my feet. Only the empty face and lower jaw remained,
Ooh.
staring. I dropped the duck head immediately. As you'd expect, it moved for the door. As I stood in the doorway, I looked back to the skull on the floor. I had to take a picture. I had to take a picture, you know? I had to for any number of reasons that may seem silly, but only if you don't think it through. I need proof for what happened, especially if Disney was going to somehow make this go away. I had no doubt in my mind right from the start that even if it was just gross,
Negligence.
Disney was responsible for this. That's when the faux negative opposite Mickey in the middle of the floor,
Dibs on reading.
started up.
I want to read. First sitting up, then climbing to its feet. The Mickey Mouse costume, or whoever was inside it, stood there at the center of the room. Its fake face, or just starting directly at me as I mumbled, "No," over and over and over. No, 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 no. With my shaky hands, a violently thrashing heart and legs that had once again turned into jelly, I managed to lift the camera and aim at it, and aim at the opposite creature, now quietly seizing me up.
Do you have the time to listen to me whine
Oh my gosh!
about everything and all at
Oh
once?
gosh!
I am
I am supposed melodramatic fools.
Stop it.
The
Digital's camera screen display.
I keep reading.
The digital's camera display.
The
The digital camera screen displayed only dead pixels and a shape of the thing. It was perfect. It was a perfect silhouette of the Mickey Mouse costume. As the camera moved in my unsteady hands, the dead pixels spread, marrying the screen where Mickey Mouse's outline moved. Then the camera died. It went blank and quiet. I raised my eyes once again. The Mickey Mouse costume said, "Hey!" It
Uh-huh.
"Hey!"
It says in a harsh, perverted but perfectly executed Mickey Mouse voice, "Want to see my head come off?" It started to pull at its own head, working its clumsy glove-clad fingers around its neck and clawing impatient movements similar to a wounded man trying to pull himself free to a predator's jaws. As it worked its digits into its neck, so much blood, so much thick, chunky yellow blood. I turned away as I heard a sickening tearing of a cloth and flesh. Only cared about getting away above the doorway out of this room. I saw the final message clawed into the metal with his bone or fingernails.
By God.
By God.
Amen. I never got the
And the Lord says, Amen. I never got the pictures out of the camera. I never wrote the blog entry about it. After I ran from that place, fled for my sanity, is not my very life. I knew why Disney didn't want anyone to know about this place. They didn't want anyone like me getting in. They didn't want anything like that getting out. Hey, kids. You guys want to play a game?